What if Macbeth was a trans man? So the first line from the Scottish play that really hit me in the heart is a line that Macbeth says to his wife pretty early on in the play. He says, "I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none." So my case, and the questions it opens, is that Macbeth is a trans man. I don't really have answers to these, but let's explore and see what we can discover. So number one, who is Macbeth out to, if anyone? And how do the stakes change if A, they're completely closeted, B, only Lady M knows, which, man, her "when you durst do it, then you were a man" suddenly cuts a lot deeper if she's the only one who knows. Or C, if only Banquo and Lady M know. That might give Macbeth some extra reason for silencing Banquo if he fears that Banquo might out him. Which leads me to my second question: what could be the consequences for Macbeth if he is outed? Obviously, each production's specific approach to world building will have some effect on this, but let's stick with the text for now because that's what we got. So we assume a highly patriarchal society, given all the war and kings being in charge and crowns only getting passed to men that we're aware of and such. So look at what people say to trans politicians and leaders today. Probably a similar level of vitriol, just at a broadsword or two, because, it's medieval Scotland. So if Macbeth's safety rides on power, and power can only be taken by men, how far is he willing to go to ensure he's either 1, never outed, or 2, never questioned because he's king? Which leads me to another question. Who else is trans in this story? I pitch trans Macbeth and trans Macduff in the same production. I would love to see a version where Macduff is also trans. Not only for, the whole, prophecy situation, but because if Macbeth is the only trans person, it leans too much into, anti-trans rhetoric of, the trans people are destroying our country and must be eradicated for my liking. Though, I guess the stark political commentary could absolutely be there if you handle it respectfully and with the input of trans people, but it would definitely be a balancing act. This one is pretty fascinating to me, especially considering how much of both Macbeth and Macduff's language revolve around what makes a man. I mean, like I said, Macbeth says, "I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none." When Prince Malcolm tells Macduff to dispute his grief like a man, Macduff responds with, "I must also feel it as a man." So juxtaposing Macduff as a trans person who's stopped overcompensating to fit in a cisnormative world when, let's face it, if someone's bent on being transphobic, it doesn't matter how much energy you spend trying to pass, if they're bent on being transphobic, they're still going to be mean. But juxtaposing Macduff as a little more balanced opposite Macbeth, who's very much like early transition me, who's absolutely spiraling with anxiety trying to control things outside his reach. It's a fascinating reflection on what healthy transitioning can look like and the damage that internalized transphobia can wreak on your mind. I, of course, can't do a video about gender in Macbeth without talking about the Weird Sisters. Weird meaning fate, not odd, because these gender-ambiguous beings are not just some foggy oddballs. Upon meeting the Weird Sisters on the blasted heath, Banquo says, "You should be women, yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so." Which is part of my case for why Banquo might not be privy to Macbeth's trans identity, because this reads very much along the lines of, "we can always tell" to me. Banquo literally says they don't look like inhabitants of the earth. Which is one thing if you're going for a strictly supernatural approach in design, but if these three are trans humans, it's whoa dude, excuse me? And the first time I encountered this play out of school, I was the assistant director, the assistant stage manager, and the props head for a free summer Shakespeare in the Park production. I learned so much getting to sit in on especially character discussions. And one of the things I learned in my production research was that at the time Macbeth was originally set, medieval Scotland, magic wasn't restricted to binary male-female. In fact, gender-diverse people were seen as especially powerful, having access to more kinds of magic than binary cis people. So I'm curious to see a couple different takes on gender with Hecate and the Weird Sisters. First, what happens if they are gender diverse and a trans Macbeth clocks that? How does that affect their motives for giving him the prophecies? Like, were they trying to genuinely help and encourage him and it backfires? Are they pained then to have it bring about his downfall? Is Hecate trans or not in this case? I mean, how does that affect her dynamic with the sisters? My second version would be like where Hecate and the weird sisters are the only trans ones. And do we have then an oppressed few from a marginalized group finally reach their breaking point and exact revenge on the kings who've oppressed them? And my third idea is Hecate and the weird sisters are gender diverse, and so is Lady M. Lady M either knows this at the top of the play or realizes that they're trans as they beg the spirits to unsex them, right? If Macbeth is cisgender in this version, abandoning his partner as soon as he realizes they've transitioned suddenly makes the sleepwalking scene even more tragic. There are so many possibilities in Macbeth for trans characters having the spotlight. And part of why I keep coming back to this play is because I keep discovering more angles and more people whose gender could reveal layers that are already in the text if you switch it around a little bit. I end up walking away with more questions each time, and this is why I love Shakespeare. I want to tackle each of the options that I've laid out and like see what shifts between people, because that's really what it comes down to. Is like, how can Shakespeare help us interrogate the biases that we still hold about gender? Because when broadswords and magic cauldrons get involved, people tend to pay attention. So here's hoping that I get to tackle these production ideas someday soon. Who knows? Remember, you're loved. You're not alone. We're in this together. See ya.